Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to present sharing some of my information here, and currently I'm really interested in the topic about the originator of the Zisha teapots and in Gongchun, and now I'm the second year DPhil student in Oxford Archaeology department. And this one is what we want to present today. Is going to have the method and the Gongchun and the origin of the teapot, so it's correlated. And also I will introduce from the evidence of historical text and also archaeological evidence from these two aspects to know that how this figure involved in the ceramic production and the beginning of the ceramic production, and why is it a figure in real or it's fiction. And this one is a very interesting sculpture by contemporary artist Xu Xiutang in China, and this gave us a very vague image about the current potters have the imagination about what Gongchun looks like. Actually, Gongchun is a teenager since he is very carefully carved the teapot, which be considered as the originator of the making these kinds of tea making ware, especially in Yixing region. And this one is the Gongchun style teapot collected in National Museum of China. And this one had loads of stories about this. Actually, the first one, this pot is discovered not in the far from the Song Dynasty, of course not, but it's from the antique market by a Chu Nanqiang, a local kind of celebrity. And Chu Nanqiang, he discovered the pieces, actually the body part, from the antique market, and he just know that the teapot is originated or collected by a very famous collector in China, and then he believed this one is the original piece from the Gongchun, from the late Ming dynasty, and actually you should take care about the lid of the teapot, which is not the original part, but made by artists in the Republic of China period. And this one is currently my method is a historiographic approach and also the archaeological science approach as well. And I'm trying to combine these two from these two perspectives. And so I think the origin of the Zisha teapot ceramic in Yixing area is very controversial topic, and with currently no academic agreement. One group of people, scholars, believe that Zisha teapots and it started from the Song dynasty, and other people believe that Zisha teapot is originated from the Ming dynasty, and from the archaeology perspective, they were, because of the first excavation of the Zisha teapot actually is under question, is around the 1980s. I believe they were because loads of local potters and also the officers involved in this excavation, so they are kind of dating from nowadays perspective. Archaeology principle is little bit too weak evidence to prove that it's not that solid evidence to prove that Zisha teapots originated from the Song dynasty, just based on several coins from the Song dynasty in the same layer of the Zisha relic. And also but it gives a big idea about there were possibility, or they will give people the confidence to claim that the Zisha teapot maybe comes from the Song dynasty. But it's largely under question, and we have the opportunity, of course, nowadays to have to solve the problem by the Shushan site, which is also in Yixing. And so from this archaeology side, we have but nowadays it's the report is under seriously delayed, and because of the academic debate and disagreement. So like Gongchun, this number is like vitally important now to rethinking about him, and as the like origin of Zisha teapot is largely under question. So we can see the like historical text about Zisha teapots, and yeah. And firstly, we can see the Wu Meiding from the Wu family, which we will talk about later. And I just like basically got the translation in very general, like from my understanding. And you can see that basically here, Gongchun is writing in Chinese character, like I just printed like red. And there were two versions of Gongchun's name, which is we have to look later on. And you can see also Zhou Gaoqi, which is a very famous book about Yangxian Minghu Xi. It's first like a biographic like book, or like especially for record the Zisha teapot manufacturing in the late Ming dynasty in China. And so here he said that Gongchun is a servant of like teacher Wu Yishan, and Wu Yishan read the books or study in the Zisha temple, and Gongchun is like secretly learned Zisha's special design and technique by washing the fine clays for the adobe and making the pots, and so Gongchun, sorry for the like mispresent, and Gongchun, so like. Because Gongchun's grandson has a Gong as a surname, so he believed that Gongchun actually called Gongchun instead of Gongchun, though they were like same pronunciation in Chinese. So like here, Wu Yishan is also Wu Shi, and Wu Yishan is like his literary name for the scholar. And you can also find the evidence from the Wen Zhenheng Changwu Zhi, which is a very important book about Chinese literary life and, for example, the crafts making. And also, like I mentioned about Gongchun, but here Gongchun also like be used this Gong instead of the another, which is like Gong. So we can see the different kinds of tags also mentioned about there were Gongchun, but it's also very confusing and a vague expression from the Gongchun teapot. For example, there were like a Gongchun style teapot, or there were Gongchun made teapots. So actually, like Gongchun, this figure or this word is mentioned, is directly referred to a person or directly referred to a teapot style. It's also like very vague idea in the ancient texts. Especially, there were also two versions of writing of his name. So you can see here, like Tu Benjun also like have the Gongchun. So you can see the two different kinds of writings. So later on, Wenlong is like Gongchun again. So he is like very different writing as well. So these two words, Gong and Gong, like these two words, what's the meaning of these two words in Chinese? It's about like Gong, the first word, like with the first word is using the serving and waiting upon. And so, which means there were like 12 meanings of that, but the most important one is the serving and the wait upon. And so it may means the Gongchun in Chinese may means like serving the spring. So which refers to the function of the teapot or the function of the tea instead of it's a real figure's name. So, and also the Gong and the Gong, the second one, Gong, is also have the name of like, have the meaning of the surname. It's also like, because like using this Gong will make the like text more confusing in some extent to like refer that actually Gongchun is a human, it's a real historical figure instead of just a teapot style or the function of the teapot. So here, I just want to ask, like, whether, like, why 这个文正亨, this very like famous scholars in Ming Dynasty intentionally like change the Gongchun to Gongchun, or just make a mistake during the transcriptions. Actually, I found that Wen Zhengheng and Wu Lun, they might know each other for some extent, and because like Wu Lun is here the son of Wu Shi, and I found that Wen Zhenming and Wu Lun have a poem, and then like it's like kind of proof that they know each other. Here you say the. I just put it red, like Wu Daben. Actually, Daben is a courteous name of Wu Lun, and they kind of prove that Wen Zhenming gave the poem to Wu Lun to thank you for the tea, trying the like tea like sent by the Wu Lun. And so and also the Wen Zhengheng, who wrote this kind of like 常物志 and recorded Gongchun, this like member, may know the Wu Shi as well, because they were just the son of who was the son of the Wu Lun. So it's little bit not like it's not possible that Wen Zhengheng are not knowing that they were a servant, or if they were a real like historical figure. So why he choose to use the instead of this one, but he choose to use another like serving the spring like one. Okay, maybe we can see later. And this one is like, so also we find another like Yangxian Minghu Xi, that were like Zhou Gaoqi wrote by. And this Zhou Gaoqi, the writer, also maybe know one of the member in the Wu family. So the Wu family actually are deeply involved in all these kinds of teapots making like activities and events, or and origin of the teapots as well. So you can prove by this poem, and we can see that, and Zhou Gaoqi also like met like Wu Honghua, who is like Wu Dimei in his courteous name. So we'll like these three members, like Gongchun believed to be the servant of Wu Yishan, and the Wen Zhengheng wrote the 常物志, actually familiar with familiar with another Wu family members about Wu Lun, and Zhou Gaoqi, this member, like who wrote another record about Gongchun, knows of Wu family member Wu Honghua. So which means like Wu family maybe take a very important role in this origin of Zisha Teapots. And so I just want to give a general idea, because it's very big like topic and very complicated social network about Wu family. So I just, for example, the Wu family is very influential in culture and many aspects, especially the famous event for this family is about he collected the 富春山居图. And so actually the Wu Yongshi and the 富春山居图 unfortunately be destroyed, even split into half by the Wu family during their collection. And this painting actually is from the Dong Qichang and Dong family to mortgage to the Wu family. So the Wu family members, and also you can see that Wu Hongyu actually is the person who survived, like kind of like rescued the unfired like paintings, like, and then refurnish or kind of the paintings, like also like, so you can see that Wu Hongyu, this like Wu family member, actually is a cousin of Wu Honghua, who is a friend of Zhou Gaoqi. So they were like it's a very close like relations between this family and also these members for writing the Gongchun, this like figure in historical texts. And so another thing like shows the influence of the Wu family is because the Da Zhang Sutra in Ming Dynasty. So they were in Yixing region is not a big region, but they got 3 opportunities during the Ming Dynasty to have the Da Zhang Sutra. So this one is the current temple in Yixing area when I do the field work. And then you will feel Da Zhang Sutra, so why this kind of, it's very hard to get the royal kinds of sutra in the local temple. And even in Zhejiang, Jinshan temple, they tried 5 years but also failed. So there were reason why this kind of small temple in Yixing can get Da Zhang Sutra. Oh, sorry. Oh, maybe there were some mistakes about the presentation, but I will just present here. Because the Da Zhang temple actually is introduced also, so the Wu family actually take a very important roles in making this happened. And because the Zhou Yanru, which is the top prime minister or top officer in the Ming court, and a very important and influential member, and who is a friend, very close friend to the Wu family, who make it happen to make the tribute Da Zhang Sutra to kinds of bless bold and to the Yixing region. So they were building a bridge between these two, and the Wu family also become an important supporter for the temple, as we can see. So we can see the very influential and also deeply involved of the Wu family. So it might happen that Zhou Gaoqi and Wu Honghua, these 2 members, to strongly claim that they were a figure, they were a historical figure called Gongchun, is a servant of Wu family. So they are who are the originator for the Zisha teapot. So they have a chance or they have the motivation to create these kinds of historical members and for their own purposes. And so they are kind of this Gongchun teapots, Gongchun figure may being created by these 2 sides, especially by the Wu on the support of Wu family to get more kinds of family influence to the tea area. And also, I want to present from the archaeology evidence, we will see that there were a long sequence of development being involved in Zisha teapots manufacturing technique, also the raw material traces. So which is the program I'm doing in my PhD. So we'll have a general view about what actually Zisha teapots made with or made by. It's a kind of Zisha clay, and you can see the different kinds of purple clays and red clays as well. And there were different kinds of minerals, or even divided by the visual colors. So it's a very interesting topic. And I just gave a very general chemical data to prove that actually the chemical composition of Zisha teapot changed, which indicates that the process may changed. Also, they will prove that there were a long sequence of production instead of create overnight by one historical figure. And so you can see that it's a general composition of the Zisha teapots, and it's very silica, kind of silica rich, like clay, and also have like calcium, aluminium, like oxidized, and also the iron oxidized as well for the color. So the color of the Zisha teapots is contributed mainly by the iron oxidized. And so these were all the tracing elements to get change of the color and also the temperature of the Zisha teapot as well. So I think here is like kind of proof that the silica percentage between the historical pieces and the contemporary Zisha raw material is diverse or different according to this comparison, the data I collect. So for which indicate that actually historical pieces is like not well processed, or it's more silica rich, and which is in the blue one. It's like more silica rich or coarse ware than the current teapots, which is like fine ware. So this also indicates that like something technique changes happened during all this historical time. And here you can see the iron oxidized actually have a large diversity in the orange one, which is contemporary, like Zisha teapots composition, which means that currently people have more pursue or more the demands for the colors of the teapot instead of Asian pieces. So they will also indicate that there were different preference for the potter side for the. And also they may have different usage as well. For example, this one is a Ming dynasty teapots from the Jintan museum in Jiangsu, and it's actually excavated from a well, which means actually Zisha pots are made from it's not the teapot we are making tea now. It's very tiny and small, but the very big one, even like a jar. And this one is exactly a jar. So it's like Zisha teapots may sharing some of the usage as a daily wear as well. So there were a long sequence of changing and development to achieve these kinds of pots as we see nowadays as a Zisha teapot, instead of created by somebody overnight. And this one also is a water boiler. And this one is a water boiler as well. So, which is very different from the first picture that Gongchun actually gave us, a very tiny, small, one Gongchun teapot. So this also kinds of evidence to prove that the early teapots actually is like that instead of what they found in the antique market. And though they have very rich cultural meanings, but it's probably not the origin of the Zisha teapot looks like. And so from these 3 points, we can see that actually the Zisha teapots, you can see that there were archaeological evidence about Zisha teapots from Ming Dynasty may have a daily use wear function, also the composition of the variation. And now I think a little bit, and we can just draw the conclusion about this part.
A couple of minutes.
Yeah, I just finished. I think, yeah, that's all of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, very well. We thank Gao Xuyang for her very detailed presentation. And now the next